We on another day in the life of a designer. What we're going to be talking about tonight is building a brand that creates power, wealth, and originality. You feel me? So, we always open with an opening question. And I just want to say first and foremost, of course, like and subscribe. I appreciate all the day ones that's been, rocking with us, showing love, making sure, you tap into the lives, you feel me? It's definitely helping us to continue to grow, helping us, to reach our goals, at least, our smaller goals. So that way we can, ultimately start providing, better content for you guys. And also, elevating our products and promotions and other things of that sort. So I definitely appreciate everybody that's been tapping in. Make sure you check out our From the Mud collection, which is available on all streaming platforms, all our website. Spoken Word is available on all streaming platforms. We have a spoken word album, From the Mud, pretty much talking about, the pain, the struggle, and the pressures of building something from the mud and turning it into success. So, definitely tap in, catch a vibe. We also, got our poetry book From the Mud available on all book platforms and at your local library as well too. So definitely tap in. But we're going to get into building a brand that creates power, wealth, and originality. We always have an opening question on our lives. What we want to, focus in on this live is how do you build a street fashion house that earns influence, creates long-term wealth, and never sacrifices its originality. You feel me? So let's get into it, right? Ultimately, dreams of rulers isn't trying to, become just another clothing brand like, the traditional ones. We're building a street fashion house, where every collection, film, podcast, and conversation expresses ultimately the same philosophies. You feel me? Visualizing your purpose, living like royalty, and ultimately dreams deserve structure, consistency, discipline, and execution. You feel me? In order to achieve your dreams and goals, right? So, for us, I started out, from the mud. Started out, where nobody supported me, for real. Had a lot of fake friends, a lot of, fake family members around. Really only had one cousin that truly ever believed in me. And once he, saw my gifts, firsthand after my graduation party, he always encouraged me, always made sure I was in, the best possible situations. And, when I was always down, he always picked me up as much as he could. And that's why, I definitely appreciate, my cousin D-Lock, because he's always been like that idol, but also he ain't never let me fall. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely appreciate him the utmost. And it's helped me, to ultimately build the brand to where I've got it, at least today. You know what I'm saying? You don't build a clothing brand, you build a fashion house. And ultimately, we've been talking about building iconic fashion houses on the live streams. We've been talking about, the things that it takes in order to, build a foundation brick by brick. And, ultimately takes consistency, discipline, focus. You can't really pay attention to, the distractions. You got to sacrifice a lot, whether it be family, friends, certain opportunities, because they don't align. And, just living your life sometimes, you have to sacrifice. You feel me? Street fashion doesn't become powerful because of the garments. It becomes powerful because of what it represents. Selling hoodies, building a culture, building a fashion house, they're all different, you feel me? When you just selling hoodies, you selling merch. When you building a culture and building a fashion house, you know what I'm saying? You actually are building something that means something meaningful that can impact others' lives. You feel me? Every collection should expand the world of, your fashion brand. That's what it does for us here at Dreams of Rulers. You know what I'm saying? It expands the world that we are, building. Rulers Universe. That's why we have Rulers Universe web series on our YouTube channel right now. Go ahead, check it out as well too. You feel me? Every live stream is a part of the archive. It's giving us, the opportunity to tap in with y'all, give y'all the opportunity to ask questions, to, give your opinions, and also, hear what our philosophies truly are from, the source itself. Every podcast adds to the philosophy, because we don't have just a fashion podcast, we have a business podcast. You feel me? That's what a lot of fashion is. All we do is drop gems on how to improve your business on a day-to-day basis, year-to-year basis, and come up with solid systems so that way you can alleviate a lot of the stresses that comes with building a brand. You feel me? Every campaign should deepen the identity of the brand. You know what I'm saying? Questions you should ask yourself is, why do some businesses disappear while others become institutions? The answer usually isn't the product, it's the identity. You feel me? A fashion house isn't measured by how many products it releases. It's measured by how clearly people understand what it stands for. Power comes from a philosophy people believe in. Here at Dreams of Rulers, you should never feel like, we sitting here trying to compete on different trends, because we're not even trying to design to align with the trends that are going on right now. You feel me? We putting out collections and pieces that ultimately make you feel good, look good, and, hopefully make you do good. You feel me? Within the world. Hopefully to inspire others as you wear our clothes. You feel me? It should, compete on ideas. Every collection begins with a question. Every garment should, communicate something. The philosophy should outlive every season with your brand. If every logo disappeared tomorrow, will people still recognize the thinking behind your brand? I know here at Dreams of Rulers, they definitely would. Because when you go back to the content that we putting out, whether it be Instagram shorts or YouTube shorts, the long form, short form content, the live streams, we always implement visualizing your purpose and, living like royalty. So you ain't even gotta look at the logo or know what the logo look like in order to understand what we about. Street fashion has always been about identity. The strongest brands don't tell people how to be. They give people something meaningful to identify. You feel me? Wealth is created by building value, not hype. Selling out a drop is totally different than building a company that lasts, you feel me? Because just because you sold out one drop doesn't mean you're going to sell out every other drop that you continue to put out. Invest in quality before quantity. Build trust before chasing, scale or attention. You feel me? Reinvest into designs, storytelling, production, customer experience. And if you are able to have employees, invest in your employees as well too. Because see, A lot of businesses, they don't invest in their employees. They run them down. It's just like at my job, right? I'm the head dishwasher at the joint, and they run me the fuck down. I'm talking about when I come in at 4 o'clock, and mind you, I'm supposed to come in at 4:30. They got a mountain of dishes higher than me, and I'm 6'3". You feel me? Every fucking day, 5 days a week. I know your job's doing it to you too. So I'm not sitting here trying to complain, but at the end of the day, that's just how they treat us. And if you have a better setup to where you can actually bless people, give them knowledge, give them leverage and power, then you can ultimately, you know what I'm saying, help them create opportunities for themselves. Think in decades instead of seasons. You feel me? Luxury isn't just about price. Luxury is about delivering an experience that consistently justifies the trust people place in your brand. You feel me? Originality is earned through discipline. Dreams of rulers doesn't need to look different for the sake of being different. You feel me? That's not technically our goal. It needs to be, it needs to become unmistakable. You know, studying fashion history was my main, starting point before I even, start doing my sketches. Like I said, I would go to Stone Mountain Library when I was living in Atlanta back in 2012, 2013. And literally that whole year, every day I walk an hour past the freeway from Jonesboro, fucking Stone Mountain Library, just to fucking do my research, tap into, the greats like Coco Chanel. I mean, y'all think Dapper Dan great, but that man just copied just like Virgil. But, we out here and, just studying how they became great, how they were able to do certain things. And ultimately, that's where I learned the different structure, learn different architecture, you know what I'm saying? Different architecture, music, sports, and, everyday life, just picking up from, those different influences helped me as well too. Building, recurring themes instead of, repeating graphics, letting every collection evolve while remaining connected. Originality isn't one breakthrough moment. It's thousands of disciplined, creative decisions made over and over again, year after year. You feel me? Day after day. Build intellectual property, not just inventory. You feel me? That's ultimately what we're doing. There's, fashion houses that separate themselves from clothing brands. You feel me? And a lot of y'all out here are just building clothing brands. That's the difference. You feel me? We're building assets like, collection narratives, short films, design journals, podcasts, live streaming archives, original symbols, visual language, photography style, creative philosophy. Every piece of media should strengthen the world around, your brand. And that's what it does here at Dreams for Rulers. Inventory can sell out, but intellectual property continues to create value and ultimately can give you royalties over time outside of, your sales. Build something stronger and bigger than yourself. You feel me? As far as us, will Dreams of Rulers still have something meaningful to say 20, 40, 50, 100 years from now? Honestly, we gonna live forever, baby. Like, we gonna be doing this shit longer than you can possibly think. You feel me? Before I pass, long after I pass away. Like, this shit gonna live forever. Are today's decisions building tomorrow's reputation? Everything I'm doing is a building consistency that hopefully, will compound as trust, through the marketplace. And ultimately, y'all will see the vision y'all will see the message and y'all will tap in full time. What values will never change, no matter, how successful the brand becomes. Visualizing your purpose, moving with intent, you know what I'm saying? Showing up every day for not only yourself, but the people around you. Hard work, just being a good person. I ain't saying nice person, a good person. Being true, treating people the way you want to be treated. Talk about, your fashion house so that people respect, what's going on. Because it remained true to its philosophy while continuing to evolve. And that's what we're doing here at Dreams of Rulers. We're creating a fashion house, that, people ultimately will respect, will ultimately, love, and feel like a safe haven for their dreams, ideas, goals, and also, ultimately have the support to build. The goal isn't simply to make clothes people wear. The goal is to build a body of work that people study, that people can learn from, and that people can build with. To create a brand that influences culture without abandoning its principles is the key. As far as, just reflections of, this conversation and, Dreams of Rulers. What does Dreams of Rulers stand for beyond clothes? Like I said, ultimately, we want you to become the best version of yourself. And that starts with moving with intent and purpose. You feel me? If you can't do that, you're just going to be lost out here, roaming aimlessly, not really getting shit done for yourself or your life. And ultimately, all those materialistic things that you chasing is going to fade away. And all you're going to have to, look at yourself in the mirror is, of course, yourself, but your soul too. How do you build trust without chasing every trend? Staying true to you, staying true to yourself, staying true to what you are building, and knowing that, that's what you're here to do. And that's what I ultimately do with everything that I'm putting out. I'm not sitting here trying to chase attention. I'm not sitting here trying to, glaze y'all with, the products and conversations and information that I'm putting out. This is wholehearted experiences that I've had to go through since I was 18 years old. I'm 34 years old now. That's been pretty much 16 years. I done put in work through internships, apprenticeships, small jobs. Ran my own brand management business where I was actually designing for smaller brands at one point back in 2017. So all I'm doing is ultimately taking, what I learned and just giving it back to y'all. So that way y'all can take it or leave it. You know what I'm saying? Can a street fashion brand become timeless? Supreme, Stussy, the hundreds. They all became, timeless. You feel me? Like, the hundreds. They got, books out, lookbooks out, documentaries out. Similar, for Stussy. Supreme, starting to do similar things as well, too. Ultimately, what it takes is, being consistent every day, showing up every day. Documenting, each step of the way, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. You know what I'm saying? Doing the, little things. You don't have to be doing podcasts, but doing live streams. Tapping into, different interviews, opportunities. So that way, you can give your audience a backstory of, what is going on. And then, just creating collections with meaning. Not just creating clothes that people can wear for entertainment. What What should people remember about Dreams of Rulers years after they've seen the collections? That ultimately the world is big enough for all of us. It's big enough for us to make money. It's big enough for us to live, like royalty. And if you move with intent and purpose, your dreams and goals will come to fruition as well too. You know what I'm saying? Dreams of Rulers isn't about building one collection at a time. It's about building one idea, one conversation, one garment, and one decision at a time. Power comes from a philosophy people believe in. Wealth comes from creating value people trust. And originality comes from having the discipline to build your own lane instead of borrowing somebody else's ideas. That's the responsibility of a fashion house. Not to follow the culture, but to contribute something meaningful to the overall culture. So with that in mind, just think about that as you continue to create your collections, as you continue to sketch, as you continue to put those reps in the gym, as you continue to do your research on different, forms of fashion, different businesses, different, brands. So that way, once you start to put out different piece of work and content, it actually has meaning, actually has substance, and will last a very, very long time. Like I said, I appreciate all y'all, the day ones that showed up today, that have been showing up. If today is your first day being the day one, I appreciate you for joining the community. Like I always say, visualize your purpose, put a solid plan together, do the proper research, and your dreams and goals will come to fruition. Keep visualizing. I'll check y'all tomorrow. I'm out.